They say in medieval times people would live or die by the sword. For me, I tend to just die. Mordhau is the latest multiplayer craze on PC, and for good reason. Following in the footsteps of War of the Roses and Chivalry, Mordhau is a middle-aged deathmatch that demands you dismember people for king and country. If you haven't played anything similar in the past, you're going to be staring up the face of a steep learning curve, and you're going to need to be at least as headstrong as this guy to get over the hump and find your groove.
You must perform the attack slightly before or exactly at the time of the block.
The core of it is simple. Melee weapons can be used to slash left, right, and overhead with mouse movements, and thrusts are made by rolling the mouse wheel. This is rounded out by ranged weapons like bows and thrown projectiles. Classic Game of Thrones stuff. The game looks frantic, limbs are flying virtually everywhere you look. At first it's daunting and overwhelming. Controls feel clunky and slow, and frustration intensifies as skilled players swiftly kill you before you even get a chance to work out which end of the sword to use. It's the pointy end. The first few hours are a slog, believe me. There's a bunch of preset classes to have a crack at, each built around a scale of movement speed versus armor, and by working your way down the list, you'll get your hands on an array of different weapon types and slowly discover the depth and fluidity of combat the game has to offer. You can then build a custom class to suit your own style. But I think the turning point from scared and confused to having a blast comes well before you master the blade. The moment you fall in love with Mordhau is the moment you realize that the fun is just about getting into the thick of it and making a mess of things. Amongst the carnage, the best way to keep yourself alive for longer than a fraction of a second is to stick with friends. This isn't about honor, it's about keeping your head. While the dance of facing off 1v1 is thrilling and timing and skill come heavily into play, May the Best Man Win is a sucker's game. 2 swords are always better than 1. Or 3 swords. Or 3 swords and a bow. Basically team up with whoever you can to tip the odds in your favor, because the enemy is going to do their best to swarm you. If not for the camaraderie, then to steal each other's kills. Be aware though, team damage is on, so swinging a massive blade around like some kind of 2-bit pasty-skinned cousin of Conan the Barbarian is going to piss off your compadres, or at very least give them a splitting headache. Oh shit. Sorry mate, let me just take that one back. The main game type is an objective war. It's basically Battlefield's rush mode, except there's more horseshit on the field. As a team, you need to push and hold points until you ultimately open up the opposition's final objective to destroy or relieve them of their respawn tickets. There's typically a nice ebb and flow to these rounds, and they do have an epic feel to them as you traverse open fields with the sounds of war and death ringing in your ears. Unless, of course, these sounds are being drowned out by a loot. One of the truly beautiful parts of video games is when they surprise you with the stupidest things, and here it's with a community that just really loves the loot. There's a strict understanding that loot players are not to be touched, and people will call you out in chat if you go around stabbing sweet bards. There's even a popular mod which allows people to basically play any MIDI audio file they can download. Nothing says, "We're all gonna die," quite like... The other 2 modes are a totally serviceable take on a melee-focused battle royale, and the cooperative horde mode. This has you facing increasingly difficult waves of AI who tirelessly and mindlessly charge after you, hurling taunts. It's as ridiculous as it is terrifying.
Oh, that was terrifying!
And it's potentially the most fun of the lot, even if you do get paired up with some crazy people.
It is a silly place.
Right.
As wonderfully meaty as the combat is, I can't overstate how silliness is such an important part of Mordhau's charm.
Where's that guy going?
The game is equal parts badass and hilarious, and I think that's why people, including myself, are so drawn to it right now.
Oh, lost a hand. There's another wave behind. Oh, I axed the horse.
And even when your team is getting totally destroyed, there's always those amazing little moments that make every bloody battle in Mordhau just as memorable as the next.